Okay, my name is Jenna Ray, and I'm a mom of 4 children. And I am a piano teacher, fitness instructor. I love the Constitution. I distributed the 5,000-year leap books for the National Center for Constitutional Studies, and also pocket constitutions. And I love Tea Party organizations. I love to come to Constitution Days in Gilbert and participate in those things because I love our country. I love the Constitution. Now, what's interesting is when I first heard about Common Core, I heard it through some of my friends and family members, and they were telling me all these crazy things about this big federal national takeover, and I thought, oh my goodness, you guys are all crazy. It can't be as bad as it is. And so I did a little bit of research, and the way I did my research is I went to the commoncore.org website. And I went through that, and I read almost every single standard. And it was dry, and it was long, and I didn't see anything very alarming at first, and so I was okay with it. And so I actually was an advocate of the standards. I thought, you know what, they're fine, because they're state-led. Supposedly, at that time, I believe that they were state-led. And, I thought if our state, because I'm states' rights kind of person, I thought if our state wants to go with this, I'm totally fine. We can go along with this. So I was also promised that it's just standards, it's not curriculum, but then the school year started. And my whole world turned upside down. My whole entire school's curriculum started being just dumped out the window. And it's time-proven curriculum such as Spalding, Saxon Math. I know some schools use Singapore Math, which they say that that's Common Core Math, but that is really not Common Core Math. So a lot of these schools have been throwing their time-proven curriculum out the windows, and so I got kind of mad. And then my kids started coming home with some crazy things. I'm going to get out from behind the table for a minute here. But they started coming home with assignments that were Common Core related. Like my 5th grade son is actually not an assignment that he was supposed to bring home. It was only one that he was supposed to do in class. One, it's in the Common Core standards, and this is also for 10th grade too, English Language Arts for on-demand writing. It says in there that the students are to read an article and analyze the article, write about the article, use precise language, citing evidence from the article to prove what the author stated in the article. No opinions allowed. Okay, and I remember thinking, what in the world are you wanting him to do? So I went to the teacher next day and I said, what are you wanting him to do? She said, read the article, analyze the article, write about the article using evidence-based terms, citing evidence from the article to support the author's evidence. It's like, well, you want him just to read it and regurgitate it back? And she's like, yeah, but use evidence-based terms, citing evidence from the article to support the author. So, like, oh my gosh. And so red flags started going off, and so then I dug deep. And ever since then, I've now become a target. My name has gotten out, especially in the Chandler Schools area. All the administrators know who I am. And I seriously have this big target. It's invisible right now because you guys are here. You're my friends. Oh, you can see it. Anyway, so I started thinking of solutions, because I'm not one that's just like, oh, what are we going to do? Wallow. No, I want to do solutions. I'm going to do something about this. So I found out, first of all, that Common Core isn't just about standards, as you're learning here. It's standards, it's the high-stakes test, and it's about data mining. It's those 3 things all hand in hand that come together. And so I was like, okay, so if we can't get rid of the standards, which I tried in my school district, I went to school board meetings, and I was talking to John Hupethal. I was just on his little skirt tails all the time, chasing him around like all the rest of us moms who have been in our little mommy lobby group that have been doing, and getting nowhere. And so I thought, okay, well, guess what? We are not going to take the test. We're not going to drink your tea. We're not going to take the test, okay? So I created the website optoutaz.org. So it's www.optoutaz.org. So this last year was our first year. And we decided that we were going to target a particular school. And of course, I get to pick my high school. Yay, because that's where my son goes, and that's what I want to do is I want to focus in my own backyard. So we went around the neighborhoods. We distributed over, I can't remember, it was over 2,500 flyers, 2,500 flyers around to different homes and people. Actually, overall, with everything flyer-wise, I think later even 5,000 flyers we distributed. Well, we got over 600 students to opt out at Perry High School, okay? The principal was livid, and he was trying to figure out where all these flyers came from, and everybody was doing this to me, okay? And so I'm standing there, okay, yes, it was me, yes. And I said, but I'm not trying to harm your school. What I'm trying to do, and I tried to explain, oh, I don't want to get into politics. So I said, I don't want to get into politics either. This is not my fault that politics was brought into this in the first place. But I want to stand up for my rights. I am not going to allow information that's taken from that test, and I'm going to protest any other information that's collected on my children through that whole year. I want out. I want my children out. I want our state out. I want back to states' rights and state sovereignty. I want local control. I was like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for our teachers. I'm doing this for parents and for students and for the future generations. And he was, oh, whatever. He just really didn't care to hear it. But all of a sudden, I have this big target on my back. And it was about 3 weeks ago, I received a letter from my daughter's school saying, Dear Jenna Ray, not Dear Mr. and Mrs. Ray, Dear Jenna, actually it didn't say Jenna Ray, Dear Jenna, they know me by first name and they call me first name now. And they said in the letter, we are, due to high numbers of enrollment, we are unsure if your daughter will be able to continue at her current school. So therefore, you are placed, she has been placed on a waiting list, and we will notify you whether or not if you have been, or if your daughter's been accepted into the school after the school year has started. So I started thinking, holy cow now, okay, so they're of course wanting me out. They want to get rid of me. That was one thing that they did. There's been a few other little things that I've had along the way of having that big target on my back. And so I'm homeschooling a couple of my children this next school year. And at first I was really, really nervous about that, but I've run into a lot of great homeschoolers, and now I'm also now focusing on homeschooling rights, because that they are focusing on trying to take away rights of homeschoolers. So if you don't know, there was a mom in Georgia who had a son and she wanted to opt her child out. And her son also happened to be sick. It was towards the end of the school year. He's an honors student. And he hardly ever missed any school until the very end of the school year, just like my children, okay? And at the end of the school year, because she opted out, because in order to opt out your children out of taking the AZ merit, you have to have your child absent that day. So at first, in the beginning of our opt-out movement, we said, print out these forms, hand them to your school, say, you know, give them an alternate activity to do, all right? But the school said, no, by state law, we have to test them if they show up, okay? But I was kind of thinking, well, what are you gonna do if a kid sits there? You know, are you gonna like send in the stormtroopers? You know, are you gonna like, you better start filling that out, pointing their little laser beams at them or something, I don't know. But, so, anyway, so we had that opt-out movement going, and that mom in Georgia did the same thing, except for she pulled her kids out like I did, and a lot of parents did. And what happened was, is she was sent a letter stating that she is in violation of truancy laws. I was also sent the same exact letter here in Arizona, and a lot of other parents were sent that same exact letter. The difference is that mom in Georgia was arrested and jailed for truancy, violation of truancy laws, even though her student is an honor student and didn't miss any other days for the school year, except for just a few when he was sick. So, what we're saying now is, even though we're keeping our website, Opt Out AZ, we're now saying refuse. Go ahead and let your child go to school on that day and just have them sit there. I know it takes a lot of courage, and it's really hard for these little ones, and it's really unfair, but have them sit there, or pull them out and homeschool them the last few little bit. the last little while. There's a lot of different options that you can do to fight back. I devised a letter. Here's another way that we can fight back. I don't know if I'll have time to get through my scribbling. Or you can just take one, pass it down. This is the letter that I got. I always devise my letters when I'm really mad. And so this one has a little bit of a mad tone to it. But then later I go back about a week later and I calm it down. But this one has a little bit more of an intense, passionate, because of recent things that have been happening. My daughter, the one that my school did not have room for this year, she was 7 years old, she's now 8, and she had a little bit of a hard time concentrating in school, just like I did. I turned out just fine and pretty well educated, I would imagine, I think. But anyway, so she just, would swing her legs and want to talk to the person next to her, and she just wants to go play. But in her school now, because of the high standards and the high rigorous, do you know what the definition of rigorous is? Does anybody know? Stiff? What else?
Rigorous.
Lisa B. Harsh. Harsh. It actually means harsh. Because of the harshness of these standards, they only have one recess. That's it.
Right.
One recess. And so they expect these little ones to sit all this long time. President Obama said that we need to extend the school day and extend the school year, taking the kids away from the family. Plus, my daughter came home with a good 2 to 3 hours of homework, bare minimum of an hour and a half in second grade, every single night. Okay, so our kids are being given busy work. Do this math problem, find 14 different ways to solve it. Okay, taken away from the family. And also being treated like students in China. That's the goal, is that they lose their creativity. They have to just think inside the box. They're high in academics. Chinese children are high in academics. It has a single major invention came out of China. The what?
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder. That was pre-low high stakes testing era. So you lose creativity. But anyways, my daughter, she's just kind of, wanting to play. Be a little kid, right? I think that was more of her problem. So they kept calling me and saying, Mrs. Ray, you might want to take your daughter to, the doctor and get her on some medication so that she'll sit there perfectly for us, okay? And then I just refused. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for your input. So, 1 minute. Oh, okay. All right, it's hard I like to talk. But anyway, so I talked finally with someone up higher in the school, and she said, we have a school psychologist. Every school has psychologists, and he loves data. And we have all this data on your child, and he's made all these charts and graphs, and it shows, that she has ADD and ADHD, and so they have all these charts and graphs off of my daughter, data. And this is a letter that I had devised here saying, you know what, schools, principal, teachers, districts, state, you do not have my permission to collect personally identifiable information on my children and store it in the SLDS, which is the National Student Database. It was misnamed. It should be National Student Database, not statewide longitudinal database system. That's just a soft term, but it's the National Database. And so this is the letter that I devised. And I'm sure they're going to say, well, you don't have any rights. Just like when you try to opt out. They said, parents, you don't have a right to opt out. It's my God-given right. And even if, first of all, the US Constitution guarantees that right. But even if they didn't, even if that was null and void, even state statute says it is my right. But even if it did not, I don't care.
It's
There are
natural
certain
law.
unalienable rights. Natural law. I'm sorry. Can I speak for 1 more minute?
All right.
Okay, thumbs up if I can speak 1 more minute. Thank you. Okay. So it is my natural right. So what we need to do is we need to educate parents on what their natural rights are. I had parents on my opt-out website. I have this little link or little email address saying, if you have problems opting out, please contact us. Well, it blew up. Okay, because everybody had a problem with opting out. Everybody was told you are not allowed to opt out. And then I said, well, refuse. You are not allowed to refuse. You don't have any rights. And of course they're going to say the same thing about the national database that we have. Oh, well, it's not a national database. It's just a statewide database. Or it's just our AZ dash. This is what we've had for years. I love this how they say, this is what we've had for years. Well, now that we know that you've had this for years and this is the route that you're going, we need to stop this. Just because you've been doing this craziness for a while doesn't make it right. And so, take one of these letters. If you guys can make copies and give it to every parent that you know, tell them to refuse that test. Of course they're going to put high stakes on it because that's what it is, it's a high stakes test. And so tell them though, you know what, freedom is not free. We're going to have to stand up. We're going to have to pay some prices here. We might have to homeschool, we might have to do private school with find different ways, routes, tax credits and things. You can get tax credits up to $2,000. There's different options. You can find good charter schools. Lisa Fink has a charter school. I know her charter school acknowledges parental rights. There's Heritage Academy, Jared Taylor's school. He's on the state school board right now. And his school acknowledges parental rights too. It's very few and far between that acknowledge parental rights. But you can find those schools and you can homeschool. So there are solutions, but educate parents. Let them know that this is their natural God-given right. These are their children, not the state's children.